In this demonstration, you will learn how to install Git on your machine. Let's switch to my browser. Here in my browser, I have already entered the address git-scm.com. SCM stands for Source Control Management, which is a synonym for Version Control System or Version Control Management. Now let's hit Enter to navigate to this site. On this site, you find information about Git, you find documentation and downloads. Here on the right side, you find the latest source release. You can download for Windows and you can also download for macOS. Here I am on a Windows machine, so let's click here on the Download for Windows button. This brings up the download page for Windows that contains different options to install Git on your machine. You can use, for example, the win-get tool, which is the package manager on Windows. I just click here on this link to download the latest 64-bit version of Git for Windows. Now let's start here that downloaded executable file. I click on Yes to allow this application to make changes to my computer. Let me close the browser window in the background. Now here in the wizard, let's click on Next and let's keep here the default location to install Git under C Program Files Git. Let's click on Next. Here you can select different components that you want to install. I just keep the default here and I click on Next. Let's keep Git for an entry in the Start menu folder and let's click on Next. I also keep here Vim, which is the text editor for Git on Windows. When you expand this, you can select here another editor on your machine. I just keep here Vim as a default and I click Next. Then here, with this option, you can adjust the name of the initial branch in new repositories. Every repository has a default branch that gets created when you create the repository. That branch name is currently master, which is a non-inclusive term. Let's select here the option to override the default branch name for new repositories, and let's use here the suggested name main. This means when you create a new Git repository, the default branch name will be main. When you look at other repositories, you might still see that master is used as a default branch name. Now let's click on the Next button. Let's keep here the option Git from the command line selected so that we can use it from the Windows terminal. Now let's click the Next button and let's use the default values for all the other options that you can configure with this wizard. Finally, you reach the last page and you see here the Install button. So now let's click on this button to install Git on your machine. Now you can see the installation went through, so let's uncheck here View Release Notes and let's click on Finish. Now let's bring up a command line window. To do this, let's go to the Start menu. Here you can type cmd and you can open up a command prompt. Or if you have PowerShell installed, you can type here PowerShell and you can open up the Windows PowerShell. In my case, I have installed the Windows Terminal application that you find in the Microsoft Store. So let's open this application. Now on this command line, let's type here Git, which is the command that is now available. Let's hit Enter to execute this command. Now let's scroll up again to the top. As you can see here, these are common Git commands used in various situations. You find here the clone command to clone a repository, and you find the init command to initialize an empty Git repository. As you can see here, you can write git-h or --help to get help. You can write git-v or --version to see the installed version of Git on your machine. So let me scroll down and let's type here cls to clear the screen And now let's write git-v, and you can see on my machine I have installed Git version 2.37.1. Now Git is installed, so the next step is to configure it.